Today's the day. There is a massive event happening after the market closes. All eyes are going to be on this, and this will affect crypto. This will affect the traditional markets. We also have a really interesting and I think a really good explanation for why this cycle feels different. If you've noticed, there hasn't been a lot of euphoria. So some people have been wondering why that is. And of course, you can just say, well, altcoins haven't pumped. But why is that, right? Why have only the top 10 cryptos really done well this cycle? There's a good explanation for it. So we'll go through that. If you don't mind, though, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. If you want to trade crypto, there's a link underneath the video to BYDeFi. You can start trading in just a few minutes. We just got done with this event where you can trade to get up to $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. That ended, but we're going to do more of these in the future, and there might be some extra special rewards coming here soon. I'm working on it, and then that's coming in the future for everyone that's ever signed up through my link. But right now, you also have this deposit bonus, so you can get some extra capital to then trade with if you use my link. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Do your own research. I'm never going to reach out to you either in the comment section or through any other means to try to get you to invest in something that I'm investing in or to send me crypto. Some links underneath the video are affiliate links. I may earn a commission, but this is at no extra cost to you. Of course, do your own due diligence. Now, Bitcoin pumped a little bit. As the market opened, it went up to 92.3, and now it's falling back down to under 91,000. Of course, we will be watching this $90,000 mark. We recently set a slightly higher low, so hopefully we continue with that. We do have a big event after the market closes today. By the way, if you want to join me on Telegram, I do update some of my trades there. You can check that out. But Nvidia is announcing earnings. Nvidia is the largest company in the stock market, largest company in the world. It's up 3% on the day, $4.52 trillion. Now, this is what people expect Nvidia to do. And of course, like, this affects crypto a lot because this is going to affect the general market a lot. This influences what people think about the future. So what are the expectations? Well, Nvidia is supposed to report $1.26 in EPS. They're expecting a 60% year-over-year jump in revenue to a record $55.4 billion. The market's pricing under a 30 price-to-earnings ratio on the next 12 months. Traders are expecting a 7% move in either direction by the end of the week. So it's going to be a volatile earnings most likely. Now, something that I found really interesting, Alphabet stock is up 5% today. Google's up 5% today. Because they announced Gemini 3. Now, this is my number one stock holding. I've talked about a lot in the Telegram and on the main channel too. I've talked about it several times, actually probably a lot. Between this and Amazon, those are my two largest holdings, but Google edges Amazon out. They just announced that Gemini 3, the training, was all from Google-made chips. This is why I think they're jumping today. Could be a bit of a risk for Nvidia in the future if more companies are able to do this. Also, Google recently got bought by Berkshire Hathaway. So I talk about crypto, but I've said so many times, I think it's important to invest in some of the top stocks too, some of the top companies, because generally they're a lot less volatile than Bitcoin. Now, over short periods of time, maybe they're not quite as much, but I do think that there's some upside potential in big tech still. Now, getting over to Bitcoin, right? All eyes will be on Nvidia. That will influence the broader market. But why is Bitcoin down? Well, I had the worst day of outflows ever yesterday, about $500 million. Keep in mind, this is still very small compared to how much they have in AUM, right? They have, 600,000 Bitcoin or something like that. It's like under 1% of their assets. So still relatively small when you look at it that way. Year-to-date flows, they have an astronomical $25 billion. It's a sixth overall in terms of ETFs. All told, $3.3 billion in total outflows in the past month from Bitcoin ETFs, which is 3.5% of AUM. So we have seen a draining of that. Now, I saw a really interesting explanation for why this cycle feels different, right? Why maybe smaller altcoins aren't doing that well. Only 3 or 4 cryptos besides Bitcoin have really done well this cycle compared to Bitcoin, right? Solana, XRP, Ethereum more recently. But like you look at it, and Bitcoin's led the way, and even that hasn't been that impressive to a lot of people. And people wonder why. Well, a good explanation of it might be the ISM. The ISM is the Institute for Supply Management, Manufacturing Index. So this is also known as the Purchasing Managers Index. It's a monthly economic indicator that measures the health of the U.S. manufacturing sector. So it's kind of like Main Street versus Wall Street. You look at Wall Street and yes, stocks are at all-time highs, but Main Street manufacturers, maybe smaller manufacturers and just normal people are still having a difficult time. Like it's a difficult economy, even though the indexes are at all-time highs. A lot of people feel like they're not doing that well. You look at the ISM and under 50 is contraction, over 50 is expansion. You look at the last 3 years, we've been in contraction for the majority of the time. Now, there have been a few small times where it was an expansion. And you can see right around expansion, Bitcoin spiked. Right around expansion, Bitcoin spiked again, right at the beginning of 2024 and the end of 2024. Those were the two big moves by Bitcoin. But if you look at previous cycles, when the ISM moved up significantly, that's when Bitcoin had massive spikes. 2017, 2020, and 2021, same thing. So if we can go back into a boom for ISM, maybe crypto does well. And this could explain why in general there hasn't been that much interest in crypto in general. Social metric scores have been down at lows. You look at Into the Cryptoverse, this is Benjamin Cohen's site. There's a link to it in either the link tree or the description for 10% off. But you can see the social metrics are at 0, right? No one new is coming into crypto, it seems. Views are really far down, even compared to last cycle. Even though Bitcoin's much higher than it was, views are down. So this metric has just cratered compared to last cycle. That could explain why, or the ISM could explain why altcoins haven't done that well, because big money has come into Bitcoin, maybe a few bigger cap cryptos as well, but no one, retail investors, haven't had all that much capital to invest and go really risk on in smaller cryptocurrencies. Now, if you're in Bitcoin, if you're in altcoins, you might be feeling a little bit rough, but look at this, PayPal, right? There are stock investors that are doing pretty poorly too. I mean, you look at this, Bitcoin. Bitcoin over the last, 10 years is up from a few $1,000s to $90,000. You look at PayPal, this is up 73% all time. So since 2015, over 10 years, it's up 70%. If you look at the last 5 years, it's down 70%. You look at the last 1 year, it's down 30%. It's basically at the lowest point that it's been since 2017. It's puttered around this $53 to $60 range, but it's just amazing how bad some stocks have performed. Even though the indices are at or near all-time highs, there are a lot of stocks, individual stocks, that aren't close to all-time highs and have been beaten down, and they are, some retail favorites. PayPal, a lot of people are investing in this. This is not a company that I hold, but this is also the worst November that we've seen since 2008, or at least so far. You can see the last 6 years has all been green. Back in 2018, we just had a slightly red November. And then the 6 or 7 years before that were all green as well. So 5.2% down on the month for the NASDAQ. It has been a good year overall, to be clear, 17.1% up, but not too many people expect this to happen in November, and December's usually kind of a sideways month, right? November is one of the best months of the year, typically. Now, I want to hear all your thoughts about this. I saw a good video from Tyler Hill talk about how crypto is hard. There are a lot of people that are thinking about getting out of crypto right now or have gone out of crypto. And maybe they're doing that because they look at stocks or real estate. And you hear the good stories from those investors. You look at a Palantir investor, and they bought at $8 and now it's at $160 after a decent sized pullback recently. And you're like, well, stocks are easy. That's a 20x. right? When's Bitcoin gonna 20x? Well, you have to realize there's still a lot of risk in stocks, right? Like, there are a lot of people that lose money in the stock market. And, no offense, but anyone that's lost money in crypto is probably likely to lose money in the stock market too, because if you had just bought Bitcoin and dollar cost average, you would have made money. So what you're doing is probably taking much larger risks or investing at bad times. That's the same thing in the stock market. Now, maybe you're going to indices, right? Indices, you can just dollar cost average and you don't ever have to worry about selling. Don't sell VOO, right? Just hold on to the S&P 500, not financial advice. But if you buy that, you're probably going to do well over time, but you're probably not going to perform as well as Bitcoin. Right? If you dollar cost averaged over the last 5 years, or even since the last peak in Bitcoin, you'd be up over 100%. That wouldn't be the case in VOO. Now, you'd still get good returns. Maybe it'd be less stressful. I like using VOO as part of my portfolio or the S&P 500, but I'm not going 100% VOO. Some people like that. I want to have allocation, or I want to have some Bitcoin, right? I want to have an allocation to Bitcoin. Some people look at real estate and think, wow, it would be really nice just to have this real physical asset that doesn't go up and down 30% a day. However, there's still a lot of work that comes with real estate. And in case you didn't know, real estate's really hard. If there's a really good deal, usually you don't hear about it. Right? Like that, unless you're in a very small area, typically the good deals are really hard to come by. There's a reason that places sit unsold for a long time because they don't make sense. I've had some, property managers even reach out to me about buying some properties recently, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you'd have $10,000 or $15,000 in equity as soon as you bought it." But the numbers still don't make any sense. Like, it would not make sense to buy. I would be basically breaking even for a very long time on cash flow or losing money depending on different maintenance. Like, the good deals barely ever come up in real estate. You really have to look for a long time compared to this, where you can buy Bitcoin when no one really wants to buy Bitcoin, wait a year, and you can make 30, 40, 50, 70% returns. Like, if you basically just buy when no one wants to buy, you'll do well in Bitcoin. You look at the 4-year cycles, you buy 2 years after the halving. I think that's about how it works out. Like, you buy basically from this quarter to a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, and then you sell over the following 2 years. That's worked the last 3 cycles. So I'm not saying crypto is completely easy. I mean, you can see Bitcoin is down right now and like people are feeling pain. I'm just saying I'm not leaving. Right? I'm going to be here. But yeah, I think it's important to remember that every market is difficult, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch, as they said in my economics class. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. If you do want to trade crypto, like I said, there's a link to BYDeFi. They're giving big deposit bonuses right now to try to incentivize people to come and try out their platform. I really like the platform. I think it's very smooth. I think it's a good UI. And they give back a lot. They do all these different trading competitions. They're not even really competitions because you're not trading against other people. Just depending on how much you trade, you get more in rewards. And we have someone in our Telegram that works for BYDeFi. So if you have questions or concerns, there's a link or there's a pin message in the Telegram that explains that. Now, Bitcoin is heading down. Like, be ready. I'm going to be watching this. You can see we actually just broke a little bit lower than we did earlier today when we hit just under 90,000. I'm going to be watching this level, this $89,000 level. It'd be great if we could hold it. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much. Be ready for volatility. I appreciate it. I'll see you all.